Welcome back to the BJJ Business and Leadership Podcast. I'm here with my friend James Cooper. As is customary in this, we're going to talk about all things BJJ, business, leadership. You got a very interesting story about your journey to black belt. I believe you were the youngest at the time, youngest British-born Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Right. So
you're looking at me going, he's the youngest ever, he looks like 46. Back when I got my black belt, I was the youngest black belt. Definitely not now. Yeah, definitely not now.
Well, we're two of the, not the elder statesmen in Jiu-Jitsu, but
I'm 34, I'm not that old yet.
Yeah, I'm a little bit older, but something I've talked about on this before is that it's very cool now to be into Jiu-Jitsu or into MMA or whatever, but I guess when we both started,
no one did it.
No one really did it. It was kind of a little bit niche, a little bit out there. So yeah, I think to start with, mate, let's talk about your journey to black belt and how you got into it and how you became the youngest British-born BJJ black belt.
So I, like most guys, I think back then I was about, 14 actually. And I started watching the UFC. I remember this, a proper throwback. I had the UFC game on the Dreamcast, literally. I remember those Tito Ortiz on there, Chuck Liddell. And I remember I started watching on Bravo in the UK. It was a channel.
Yes, Bravo, yeah.
And back then, I remember back in the day, people used to think the toughest person in the world was heavyweight champion of boxing, right? And then we started to realise after the UFC that actually the toughest person in the world was someone who was UFC champion, because you could actually, it was other martial artists, and it's another story to go into, but another time. But so as every boy or man, I wanted to learn how to fight. So I knew the guy at the time was UFC heavyweight champion, was a guy called Frank Mir, who was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. They used to back then have their style on there. I remember they used to say,
yes, yeah.
Okay. And so I basically needed to find out what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where I could train it. And back then, there was so little Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu back then. It was a proper niche, unusual sport. And I was in Selfridges in London, central London at the time. And there was a magazine, it was actually Martial Arts Illustrated magazine. And they had a front cover with Roger Gracie's in London. I literally was like, oh my God, the Gracie's in London. So I remember I got home, kept looking at this magazine, the front cover with Roger on there. And I just took the bus straight there from back home, I remember. And as I say, the rest was history. I turned up and there were literally, I think, Michael, 2 purple belts there. One of my friends, Elio, and Nick Gregoriadis, who's Roger's first black belt, actually, down there. And I remember Roger was 23. He just won ADCC. That's why he was on the front cover. And Roger was 23 with a lot more hair. And he would make fun of me. We both lost all the hair. But yeah, I remember, so it was really crazy. It was a tiny class, very, very few people. I remember telling my parents, I played rugby at school, and told my parents they had no idea what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was. So I don't look at my mum's actually Japanese. So from that, her family were judokas, very high level actually judokas. And I remember she goes, why don't you do Japanese Jiu-Jitsu or judo or whatever it was? And we went to Japan that year, and I remember we're in a sushi restaurant, and one of the guys, she told the guys who were working there behind the counter, said, oh, my son does jiu-jitsu. And they said, what type of jiu-jitsu do you do? And they said, Gracie jiu-jitsu. One of them, mum goes, oh yeah, Gracie jiu-jitsu. Till mum, she only cared what other people thought, not happiness of her son. So yeah, and then she realized other Japanese people knew what it was. And back in Japan, where she's from, Shizuoka, that's where the main part of Brazilian jiu-jitsu is. So Shinyo-oki is from there. Yuki Nakai, guys, Yuki Nakai was the first guy. Was it that Ultimate Japan or whatever it was with Hicks and Gracie?
Yeah, he fought. Was that the first Pride?
Yeah, you're right.
Did it evolve into Pride?
I think it evolved into Pride.
Okay, yeah.
So people don't know, Hickson, the first sort of like Vale Tudo tournament was in Japan. And one of the guys in there was Yuki Nakai, and he lost to Hickson in the final. And what happened was, I remember then he started learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu basically, and then that's how I got it built in Japan. And it's actually Shizuoka, where mum's from, is where the main Jiu-Jitsu academies are. So I basically went down there, and I remember the first time I walked into the gym, Michael, I remember I played a bit of rugby at school. I was pretty strong. I mean, literally very, very strong. I think it was only 14 or 15. I was benching, I think, like 160 kilos when I was, I was very, very strong. And it's not, people tell these stories. I'm asking my local body, I was very strong back then, like really strong.
What age was this?
15, 14.
What?
I was really not pretending. I was actually drug free, like nothing.
Yeah.
And you know when you're young, you must have this as well. You don't realise. I didn't realise how strong I was to look back at it. Because back then you have no fear, you don't really understand at all what the weight even means, to be honest with you. And I walked in, trained, and I remember telling Roger, whoever it was, and I said I thought it was pretty tough, right? And I remember getting beaten the shit out by everyone, literally not being able to do anything. And guys that I remember, a guy Gerald Ashby. Gerald is a black cab driver, was a black belt. No, he was a purple belt back then, so black belt now. And he literally just manhandled me, built like a stick. I remember just thinking, how does this guy feel so strong? And I knew from that day, I need to learn this martial art. I needed to stick by this and go, I can either walk away from this and pretend I'm still tough, or I can actually stay at jiu-jitsu. It's what we spoke about earlier. You have two types of people that go into martial arts academy. Real ones, boxing, jiu-jitsu, whatever it might be, real martial arts. Either you go in there and you realise you're not that tough and you carry on, or you hide away from it and pretend it never happened. And I think there's two types of men in the world, and women. You either lie to yourself and pretend it never happened, or you actually have a reality check and need to do something about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's a great point. That you've raised a load of great points there. Loads of stuff I want to talk about. Particularly there, I've heard you talk about it in the past, and I completely agree with you about the legitimate martial arts, if you like.
Real ones.
There's real ones. There's a lot of martial arts out there, but I think for jiu-jitsu, boxing, wrestling, Thai boxing, things like that, you have to be proficient. You're not going to get away with systems or...
It's a reality check. It's
exactly.
It's reality,
yes.
right?
And as you say, people go in there and they can go in thinking they're tough, and they leave their first session knowing they're not tough, and it's where they choose to go from there.
Exactly.
It's whether they, I'm going to... And I can talk about this authentically because that was me. I remember when I first went, it was actually into an MMA gym, but my first session was grappling. And I was getting tied in knots by people half my size.
Yeah.
And my ego did not like that at all.
Of course, as men we care about. It's funny, actually, an example would be, you'll love this. So when you talk to a guy, right, and say you have someone that, it's an example. Say you go to someone, a guy, do you play golf? No, okay.
Very badly.
Okay, so right, it's barely, right? So I don't play golf at all, right?
Yeah.
Give you an idea, if someone said to you or me, they say, this guy's been playing golf for 20 years. Okay, and you go, who's better at golf? You go, well, of course he's better at golf. He plays golf, right? A guy's been in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Thai boxing for 20 years. Who win a fight? Oh, well, you know what? In a real street fight, I just see red. Right. The reality is men care about how tough they are.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Another one example would be the guy has the Ferrari. The guy has the nice Ferrari. Oh, I don't really want that. The reason you have to bring that up is because you care. Yeah. So the reality is when it hits home, the reality is the hierarchy for men is how much money you earn, educational status, and how tough you are. Mm-hmm. It actually is. And that's what women like the most. And they'll pretend they don't, but they do. Yep. Any good-looking woman who can pick who she wants will tell you they want a man that can protect them and provide for them. And there's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. I think actually a form of respect for your wife or girlfriend is protecting and providing for them. It's not because they're lower than you. It's actually a form of respect. It's like when a man goes out and pays for dinner, it's not because the woman can't pay. It's a form of respect. It's courtship. You're courting, showing you're interested in them. It's not because you own them. It's like the example is where a woman gets angry because the guy pulls out the chair. I can do that. What? No shit. You have no arms or legs. You can't pull out the chair yourself. It's crazy, isn't it? We open the door. I can open the door myself. Yeah, of course you can. It's actually a form of respect. It's the opposite.
Being polite.
It's being polite. It's a form of respect for the other person, the woman. It's actually a form of respect.
Yeah.
But the point of digress was about men do care about whether they can fight or not. And I think that people become more and more unhappy the further away you move from reality. So as men, we admit what we want and then go for it. Mm-hmm. And I promise you, even though because you understand what you want and you just strive towards it, going through that journey and progressing every day will make you happy. Mm-hmm. The more you move away from that and lie to yourself, the more unhappy deep down you'll be. And that's when people go to escapism, drinking, booking another holiday for no reason, that kind of stuff. It's because you're escaping from reality. Yeah. If you're in line with what you actually want, you'll never be where you want. But as long as you're progressing and understand where to put your eggs, and that's the most beautiful thing, right? You have this, right? And you meet someone quite quickly, someone knows where to put their eggs, what basket to put their eggs. Once you know that, you might not be where you want to be, but you'll be happy because you're progressing towards that.
Yeah, 100%. And you see the difference between people who, it's like that great quote, I'm probably going to butcher it now, but the more we learn, the more we realize we don't know.
Yeah, it's a Dunning-Kruger effect, isn't it? So,
right, yeah.
So basically, what happens is the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. So to give you an idea, someone who's very, very proficient at something, say an academic professor, you ask if they're clever, they'll say they're not. Now, I'm actually very lucky. My parents were both successful, relatively successful, both dentists, had their own business. And you can ask them, I knew what the answer would be. I asked my mum and dad if they're clever. They would say no. And they're not joking. They're like, I'm not clever. What do you mean, literally? They genuinely think they're dense.
Yeah.
And, you went to Cambridge, you're a smart man, but you probably don't think you're clever. There's loads of stuff I don't know. But the less intelligent someone is, the more they think they know. And that's the way it is. Same with fighting, right?
Exactly.
The exact example of Dunning-Kruger effect. You think you know how to fight, then you realize you know absolutely nothing, right? When you actually go into a martial arts gym. But the problem is, I'll tell you something, nowadays people don't have a reality check. They're protected by society and protected by the tax system, because the benefit system in the UK means you can actually be very blunt. There is a need for a benefit system. I do believe in it, people that are struggling or disabled or between jobs. But a lot of people will just rely on that. The pain point doesn't become big enough to make change. And wherever society, the pain point isn't big enough, people will never progress, because the pain point is never big enough to make change.
Absolutely. And we were speaking about this before, and this is one of the reasons I'm excited to have you on the podcast, is that, as you just said there, blunt or direct, however you want to call it, I'm exactly the same. So really like communicating with you, and we've had some great discussions on these kind of things. And we were talking earlier about the fact that we're both living in Dubai now, and how a lot of people won't, even though there are so many benefits that we've experienced, training included and, lifestyle and all that things, there's so many people who won't, not only will they not make the move, but they'll make excuses as to why it's best not to make that move.
Yeah. They ask you tons of questions and they're talking themselves out of it. My favorite one people use about moving to Dubai is they'll go, it's first of all, it's not for me. And I say, well, why? And they go, and I say, have you been to Dubai? And they go, no. So how do you know it's not for you? Because they don't want to know. A lot of people, the problem is in Dubai, is that people come here, every single person, for bad or good, want to improve their lives. Every single person, even the bad, even the drug dealers, even the blunt, the brass, right? But they're just trying to improve their life. They made a conscious decision to try and improve their lives. The problem is in the UK, most people are there because they just moved, they're born there. A lot of people's parents, the immigrants, did the same thing as we did. They moved to better life. A lot of my friends from school, Indian parents, they moved to the UK. And the crazy thing, which I find crazy with these parents, is they're selfish and go, you can't move, you need to be here for me. I'm like, yeah, but you did the same thing yourself. You moved from India or Pakistan to improve your life. All your child is doing the same to improve their lives. And the funny thing is, as I say this out loud, I don't think it's the parents or the kids that don't want to move. They'll pretend, they'll blame their parents or go, oh, I can't move. But really they can. They make the excuses because the truth is, if you look at it as a professional, say you're a doctor, a lawyer, a dentist, in particular medical career or construction, you'd move to Dubai and double and then it's quadruple because there's no tax. And housing is cheaper here. So there's a no-brainer not to move somewhere that is cheaper, safer, low taxation, people are all driven here, better quality of life in terms of sun. The other one, people go, oh, well, it's too hot in the summer. It's too hot for 2 months of the year. It is too hot, but you're indoors anyway. But then why don't you go away for 2 months? And the family one, Michael, is, oh, I can't move because my family. I'm like, the amount you say you earn 100 grand a year, the amount you save in tax, you could fly your family over business class every month.
Yes.
Every single month.
Exactly.
Go business class every single month. You only 200 grand to go back first class every month. So it's just not a reason not to move.
Yeah, people don't like to hear those examples, though, do they?
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it's similar to what we were talking about going back to the martial arts thing on the opportunities that are presented to be able to move around and to be able to go to different gyms. Like there's a multitude of gyms here in Dubai. We've trained at a few different gyms.
7 gym memberships now.
Yeah,
the money we
exactly.
save on tax, we're just spending on gyms and eating out and chatting shit over coffee. £7 coffee.
That's it.
I love it.
But that's also networking. That's socializing, as well as training.
Of course
at the
it is.
same time.
That's our pub, right? The most important thing for me, people don't understand this, and it was in Lad Bible recently, I think I spoke about the post to you, there was a post saying that men should have a lads night out twice a week, and the post on Lad Bible, done by Oxford University, the study, probably a real study, but the thing is, the caption was them getting hammered at the pub. And the more I looked into it and I got really pissed off about it, I commented on there going, why are you pushing this sort of behaviour? Men should be building a business, creating a family, protecting the family, building a legacy, and looking after their body, right? And having and spending time with friends who are on the same path. And it triggered a lot of people, and it is relevant. Every single person that commented, the usual one was, looks like you're fun. And a bit of tongue in cheek, I said, it's pretty fun driving my Ferrari, actually, to be honest with you. And they'll say, you're boring. I say, why am I boring? I built a business from scratch, have an education that's better than yours. I do a martial art that I love. physically in shape, have amazing friends around me and live in the sun. What I don't understand why that's boring.
Yeah.
Or the other one guy, you'll love this one. He goes, "Oh, you're illiterate?" And I was like, "Well, I have a degree from King's. I'm probably not literate, am I? I got 2 A's and a B in my A levels. I'm not literate. That's ridiculous." They're making excuses for themselves. The point about the digress was, the study was definitely real. Men need brotherhood in their life because naturally we're hunters. So you need men that are on the same path as you that have your back. Because I promise you this, people don't like to this because it's a discussion we don't like. Men understand other men. Women will, as much as they can be amazing partners and they're amazing, men understand men. Women don't really understand the pressures on men in the world. Because they wouldn't. It's not their fault. Of course, they can't. Unless they have really good brothers actually growing up. A lot of women that understand men deeply is because they had a really good father and a really good brothers growing up. So you know when you have make a sick, weird joke the men make, and women laugh, say, they definitely have brothers. Yeah, I do.
Exactly.
They always have brothers growing up.
They've had that experience.
They've had that experience with the nonsense. But what I meant was, men need brotherhood. So our pub is basically going to jiu-jitsu. That's where I meet my friends. I spend time with them. I get coffee with them. I like spending time today with you. That's my pub. So isn't it better to have your pub as someone you're spending time with people and you're progressing at the same time? And that's what you have at jiu-jitsu. How can you find a better place meeting people? Same with jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu has had the most profound effect on me in terms of business because contacts, in terms of contacts, I met the most incredible people. They're super successful entrepreneurs. I've learned a massive amount from people there. The contacts I made from my gym, the friends I made have been absolutely incredible. It's the example where someone will meet one of my friends, say you, and they'll go, "Where did you guys meet? The gym?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, actually, you're right." You're completely right. Literally, how did you know? Like, brothers flexing a neck like this.
Posing in the mirror,
How did you know? While they're asking me, literally, you're sitting in tight jean shorts, and I'm wearing little shorts as well, wearing a vest. But the point, what I meant was that the jiu-jitsu, in terms of business, the whole point of this podcast is the effect it had on my life is just absolutely incredible. Like, it's just, I know it's a bit annoying and cringy. It's the kind of guy that says "us" after every technique is shown. But the effect it's had, it's changed my life forever. Jiu-jitsu has saved my life in terms of many different ways because it teaches you mental resilience. It teaches you everything that goes into business. And I think people don't understand that building your body, learning a martial art is exactly the same as building a business. And I don't want to be an arsehole, but working a professional job is not the same as building a business. But as an entrepreneur, it's very different. Every single entrepreneur I know who's built a business has been literally cried themselves to sleep, literally woke up shivering, drenched in sweat, because you're not sure if you're on the right path sometimes. You'll have self-doubt. And spending time on the mat where you have doubts, you're literally under pressure all the time, teaches you to be able to deal with pressure. And you think to yourself, well, say you're in a really bad position, what's the worst that happens? You get choked unconscious. You'll be okay. Yeah. Same with business. You lose all your money. What's the worst that happens? You'll find a way around it. You'll be fine. And the way to deal with stuff like that is just being able to deal with pressure. And the problem most people, Michael, they haven't dealt with pressure in their life. They've gone to like, I'll be very blunt from my school. I went to a private school, very good academic school. A lot of my friends from my school had, to be fair, my school wasn't too bad. It was academic. It wasn't crazy, loads of family wealth, but they had a comfortable, like, got a 2-1 from uni, went to work a professional job, worked quite long hours, got promoted. Mum and dad gave them a bit of money to buy the house. That's it. Got married, had 2 kids. They know how to deal with any actual difficulty. Yeah, they know how to deal with anything difficult. So, i.e. why, if someone like that's even more important to do a martial art, because human beings get depressed when you don't have difficulty. Every single person in my life who's been the most depressed has come from loads of family money, had everything handed to them. You know what happens next, Michael? They go to drugs, they go to drink. They go to literally, they find purpose in other ways or find difficulty in other ways. They're the Karen arguing in the shop.
Yes.
Anyone that's difficulty, serious difficulty, the single mum, wherever it is, doesn't argue with everyone. They have enough difficulty day to day. It's like we sparred earlier this morning. I can't be bothered to have an argument with someone, literally. I've already had like someone sweating in my eye, literally. Exactly, sweating in my face. And that wasn't even at jiu-jitsu. That was just in the morning. That was just
on the way.
That was just on the way here, literally, us two. At my flat. But being serious, and that's why I think jiu-jitsu is so important, particularly if you have kids, you do really well yourself, and you don't want to spoil your kids. Like, I came from a comfortable upbringing. I'm not going to pretend to. My parents were dentists. But what made me more tough, I was a sport brat kid. I was a cock growing up, literally. And it wasn't anyone's fault. My parents meant well. But doing jiu-jitsu and playing sports, no matter how much money you have, you still have to do the same. You have to work hard to get good. Yeah. It doesn't matter how much money you have to work hard to get good.
Yeah.
You can't escape that.
unlike, and this probably cop a little bit of hate, but unlike a lot of other martial arts, you can't buy your way up the belt system.
You can't really. I mean, you do see some nowadays. I'm not going to go. But you can't. But the belt system, maybe a little bit. But actually, I say that, but it's still much harder.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get a black belt. A Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu goes to shit black belt. They're still pretty tough. There's no one that's a black belt at a proper gym that's actually not tough.
Yeah.
They'll beat the living shit out of 99.9% of the population.
100%,
Yeah, of course they would. They might not be as good as the old school black belts, but they're tough.
Except the guys who see red and then
I see red.
That's my favorite.
They see red, it's over. Yeah. Oh, once I see red, it's over. Yeah. And it's funny, we talk about martial artists, right? That people find it really funny when they go to an MMA gym or a martial arts gym, and they go, "Wow, everyone's so relaxed here and friendly." And I said, "Yeah, because people understand hierarchy. The problem is, in a workplace or in the street, wherever it may be, men are confused by the hierarchy. People can delude themselves. They create their own hierarchy in their head. With a jiu-jitsu gym or MMA gym, reality check is someone's going to put a hand through your skull. It's true. Thai gyms, everyone's super friendly, jokey, has banter. Because there's a reality, that a fine line, there's a fear of violence. Whenever you remove fear of violence from society, people become more aggressive. Yeah. Because that's the end goal, end line, is if it gets really bad, there's going to be violence. Why men need to be able to protect themselves as a man. I don't care what you say. You can be every single guy, and I'll ask you this, right? The question for you. If you could be worth 100 million, or you could earn 200 grand a year, but you'd earn more than this, so it's just hypothetical. But you could be UFC heavyweight champion and 200 grand a year, or would you rather be earning 10 million a year, or even have 100 million a year? Who would you rather be?
Yeah, I'd rather be the champ. Yeah.
Of course you would.
Yeah.
Every single man. Someone walks in a room, there's a guy who's worth 5 billion. John Jones walks in the room, or Tom Aspinall's the toughest person on the planet.
He's the baddest man on the planet.
He's the man. He's the man. Every girl's attracted to him. I don't care what anyone goes, oh, not you are.
Yeah.
Because literally, the reason being is he's the man, he's the toughest person in the world. The hierarchy's built on toughness still. We're still animals.
Yeah.
And I was really lucky. My mum taught me this growing up. She said, women go, oh, women are gold diggers. Of course there are women that are gold diggers, because women don't want to be with a loser. It's the characteristics that builds that person. I mean, one of my favourite quotes, actually, one of my friends, is a trained psychologist, Dr. Matt Slavin. He's one of my friends from Haberdashers from school. Went down, really smart guy. He said to me, the prize of a Ferrari is not the Ferrari itself. The prize of a Ferrari is the man you had to become to buy the Ferrari.
The work that you had to do.
The reason why women attract the guy with the Ferrari is not because they have money. It's because the kind of person they are. The guy's tough. And I was really blessed growing up. My mum and dad always, they see someone with a nice car, they're not that jealous parent. They'll be like, no, that person's worked hard for it. That person's tough. The person literally has that, is mentally a tough person. Of course they are, literally. If the guy, of course there's people with parents' money again. So it's another one. Women actually, it's been found that women actually don't find men with family money attractive. They find the guy, rather the guy less, but earn the money himself. The reason being is it's built into women's DNA. You'll know this. What did he study again? He studied...
So it's behavioural ecology.
There you go.
Yeah.
So at Cambridge, and the thing was that we spoke about is women know it's in their DNA to be a man that literally has the stuff, will sort things out. So if the boy has all the money handed to him by the parents, if he loses that money, how's he going to earn money? He doesn't know how to. The guy who's earned money, has lost the money before, earned the money again, will find a way around it. I remember actually my mum, before she passed away, was in a deathbed. And I said to my mum something. I said, Mum, I do very well in my business, I earn a good amount of money. There's people back in the UK that have their mum and dad buy everything for them. They live in a big house, all this stuff, and they've never worked a day in their life. And she goes, yeah, but you know how to earn money. And she goes, I'm a woman, I'll tell you this, women are not attracted to men like that. Look at he goes, I guarantee you the guy who has that money from their parents looks like a boy. And I said, you're right.
Yeah.
Like the way we spoke the other day, I can see their political views from just looking at their face. Inverted chin. Going,
sorry to interrupt there, but probably the best quote I've ever heard, the way that you opened that, you said, I could recognise that guy's political views by his chin. I'm taking that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, obviously people will see now on the podcast it's your quote, but anyone who hasn't seen this podcast, that is now my quote. I'm taking that.
It's gone. I probably stole it. Actually, I actually did make that up. I actually did. It wasn't. Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's just the way it is, right? That people. Just lost my train of thought. If you look at the way it is in terms of the work ethic, right? Women are still attracted to guys competent, and what we spoke about earlier on the taxi on the way here was women attract to men that are competent. Right, and the problem is a lot of women. The reason they like the guys who are, the guys who are dickheads, is a lot of women haven't had good father figures growing up, masculine fathers who provided for them and made them feel protected, and brothers are all very similar. they think the guy's aggressive and rude is competent. It's the opposite. It's like the people the toughest people who are self-made millionaires. You notice they're always really friendly to staff, to
Really
waiters.
nice people, yeah,
they're always
yeah.
really nice. You know why? Because they felt like shit before. They suffered a lot, so they understand what it's like to be. I do decently well now, but I remember literally looking in the mirror just thinking, you're a fucking loser. All your friends from school have professional jobs, you're a random PT in a gym box earning 19 grand a year. Like, who are you, literally? And I used to have that, and I understand what it feels like to feel being looked down on and feel like nothing. I feel like dirt. So I never want to do the same to somebody else. Because anyone that's, whatever it may be, being a waiter, cleaning the street, they're just trying to provide for their family.
Yeah.
That's all they're trying to do, literally trying their best to make a living, right?
Yeah.
So I find it crazy when I see people like mistreating them as madness. But anyone who's been there will never do that.
Exactly. And it's like you said before about providing and protecting. They're two massive values for guys. I think incredibly important to be able to do that, to provide for your family and be able to protect your family. Whereas the kind of narrative at the moment seems, especially the protection thing, doesn't seem to be, people are saying that, it's not important. We know it's important. We know it's that both of us got into martial arts, learnt the value of being able to not just protect ourselves, but protect those close to us, should we ever need to do it. I don't know if you're similar to me, but the ironic thing is that the better my fighting abilities got, if you like,
Less fights.
the less I need to use it.
Well, think about this, right? So women get angry at this. Not all women. Actually, 9% of women don't get angry. They pretend women get angry at this. They don't. If say someone burgled your house, are you going to go downstairs? What's going to happen if someone burgles your house? Your husband's going to go downstairs, right? Your boyfriend's going to go downstairs. So the reality is going to be when actual violence does happen, which you will come across at one point, the boyfriend you picked with a little pot belly and the skinny little face, your mum and dad bought his house for him, he talks like a gremlin. What's he going to do?
He's going to go and confront them.
He's going to hide behind the pillow or hide behind your back, right?
Yeah,
and that's the truth. And women do not find that attractive, and that's the truth. And if they do find it attractive, they're deluded. They're told by society what they're supposed to be attracted to. And then, like we said before, anyone that's a psychologist or psychiatrist, like medically trained, will tell exactly the same things. All the stuff we see on Instagram is people that are medically trained. They just talk nonsense. They're talking garbage. Yeah. So what it is, the way you look at it is, as a man, I'm not strong or fast, and I can't earn money, so I become the male feminist. Yeah. And you think women can't read through that? Women see straight through it. Any attractive woman knows straight away. They know exactly who that is. So I was actually at my birthday party a while back, and one of my friends, I won't mention his name, but it's like the male feminist thing. And we're talking how we were now. And he said to me, always James, hating on women. And I said to him, how am I hating on women? I'm just saying what women want and what men want. It's not, and I think actually the way I'm talking is actually to have respect for women, that we open doors and provide for them. And one of my friends was there, and she said, James doesn't hate women at all. He has a good relationship with his mum. He loves women. He cares about women deeply, and that's why he feels like he needs to provide and protect. It's built into his DNA. And he goes, you saying that is because you're not confident enough to admit what you want. And you're not confident enough to admit that's the way the world works. So what you do is you become the male feminist, and you think that attracts women. That makes women detest you. Actually, you said that to him. Wow. And you're a coward, women know, not stupid, come on. They pick those men because they think you know what it is, women, if you talk to any women and you'll have a good relationship with them as a friend, and you say to them what they want, they all want the same thing. They want somebody strong and can provide for them. And that's actually a secure woman can admit that. And the reason the women say, I want the guy with the dad bod is, every woman knows, because they think they won't run away.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, the guy with the dad bod is the one who's most likely to cheat because they're insecure. They need to feed their ego. A guy that knows he can get any girl doesn't need to. they know they can get any girl, right? Yeah. They don't need to do that to protect their ego or to fill their ego, right? But the thing is, the dad bod thing is absolute nonsense. Just not true.
Absolute nonsense. And it starts a cycle of dishonesty, which we could do a whole nother podcast on. Dishonesty and how it kind of warps people. Actually stops people getting to their goals, and it's the guy saying he doesn't care about having a dad bod, and the girl saying she doesn't care about the dad bod either, until they do. Until they
have an argument, they call them a fat shit. You with your fat body.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Why don't you lose some weight? Well, where did that come from? Literally, because
I
thought you loved how I looked like a potato. I looked like a melted wheelie bin. I thought you liked that. That's what you found attractive. Yeah. And every guy doesn't care about how they look till they have to go to the beach. You don't care till you have a reality check in. You do care, like we said.
Yeah.
It's funny we're talking about the mental health stuff, and actually, so we spoke about men with clients where they're lawyers, and something I actually had last year I was going to talk about. So when I was building my business, so I am still building my business, I remember very, very ill, like really, really sick, and I don't talk about this very often actually, to the point where I was on the toilet all day, very, very sick, waking up drenched in sweat, shivering. And be very blunt, my mum actually was dying of cancer at the time, was on her last couple of weeks. And I assumed it was something very serious, 'cause I was that sick. And my friends were like, you need to go to the doctor. I was like, you need to go. And one thing actually, watching my mum on her deathbed, I'm strong enough to cope with anything. I don't think I'm strong enough to, well, if it does happen, it does happen. It's, I think 42% chance I'll die from cancer, right? How a lot of people go, right? But when I saw what my mum went through, literally someone that was so stoic and strong, literally someone you love, like shitting in a nappy, right? The last week, me having to clean her, I thought I can't go through this, and I was petrified. I was scared of literally being that ill, so I didn't want to know. And the reason I didn't want to know if I was ill or not was not because I was scared of dying. It's the opposite. Actually, what it was, Mike, was I was scared of finding out how ill I was and I have to stop work. I thought to myself, I don't have the time to literally take time away from work. I was scared of finding out how ill I was, and it'll make me take time off work. And I think women find this hard to understand, other men. These people that say corporate lawyers are very fat or whatever it is, people go, why are you not taking time off work? They physically can't. The whole purpose comes from being a top lawyer. The whole purpose comes from being a business owner. And they don't want that taken away. So what they do is they literally put all their effort into one thing and hide away from everything else. And that's what it was with my business. I didn't care about my health. I just thought to myself, if I die, I die. Literally, I don't even want to know. And I literally was so aggressive about my business, I didn't want to even know. And what men fear the most is a lot of PTs will go to people, oh, you'll die at 60. Men don't give a shit. They're scared of being a loser. They're scared of dying a loser. What they're scared of. They don't care about dying or dying young. They're scared of dying a loser. You can improve your health. I don't give a shit about that. I want to leave a legacy of some sort. And I think that's very, very hard for people to understand. So I eventually, after my mum passed away, I got my test done, etc. And I remember talking to the doctor, and he said, actually, you're fine. He said, I found a bit of inflammation. He said, well, what's wrong? I told him what happened the last year. My mum obviously just passed away, and built a business, opened it just before COVID. It was 2 weeks before COVID. No, less, 10 days before COVID. I put all my life savings in my business, yeah. And then the lockdown happened, and my best friend just died of a drug overdose. From my best friend's Daniel, really, really good guy. And also my 25 grand grant from the government actually was stolen by my landlord. Hey. Yeah, so I had nothing. Yeah, they applied for my grant and took it. And I was the rates payer, so they took that. And I had everything. I moved back home to my parents. She when all this happened. I've got most important thing. I've got divorced. My wife's having an affair. So I moved back home to my parents. It was a weird experience. I moved back home. I had everything. Moved back home to my parents, and I remember my best friend just died. My mum got diagnosed with cancer, and my wife having an affair. And I remember literally sitting in my childhood room. And I kid you not, there was a photo of my ex, what actually was wife at the time, whoever just left, wife, and my mate in the picture, and I was like, you can't even write this. And then I looked back on my bed, there was like a teddy bear I had when I was 3 on the bed. I was like, this is not a good situation to be in. But so I spoke to the doctor about this, and he was just really, really stressed. And he goes, you find a lot of business owners will be physically really sick. It's not mind, your gut and the gut-brain axis is real. Like you said, it makes you very, very sick. And once I found out about that, literally started to look after my health a bit. And funny enough, my business grew. I think a lot of business owners are petrified of taking time off work. But if you don't look after your health, that will become the bottleneck of your business.
100%. We were chatting about this before. Like, a lot of people will disregard their health until it breaks, and then it's the one thing that you give anything to get back. And it sounds like you couldn't have had. And that's powerful what you just shared. I'm not trying to trivialize that at all, but you couldn't have had any more heaped on your plate.
Yeah, when I saw my mum, what scared me, as I told you, when I realized how important my health was, when I looked at my mum and I realized you literally have nothing about your health. And I think that's everything that we will experience at one point, right, with ourselves or family members so close. On the deathbed, you realize how visceral it is. When you see in the newspaper, I think it was Gianluca Vialli, Chelsea played, died from cancer. And you see in the newspaper, and you go, oh, it's terrible. He died at 50, like, things awful. But when you have someone really close to you dying of cancer, you realize how serious the last part was. I don't think people understand how bad it is. Where you see, I said before, like washing your parents. And mum wasn't old, she was 67. Young, but not old. And, you just shitting in a nappy. Literally, you see this stuff and you're like, this is so much more intense than you realise till you see it firsthand.
Yeah, no, that's tough stuff, powerful stuff. I appreciate you sharing that, because I know that can't be easy stuff to share. But going on to like you doubling down then on your business, and kind of going back to what you said before, that's essentially your life's work, right?
Everything.
So that's why it meant so much to you. And I think going back to the whole kind of the theme of this, if you like, is that you've learnt, as you know, because we talked about jiu-jitsu, we've talked about entrepreneurship, things like that, learnt how to overcome like massive obstacles, how to problem solve, how to push through the hard times, you know. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's
no. I mean, the thing is, the man, no one's coming to save you.
Exactly.
That's the biggest one. I think people think that there's someone's going to come to save you, particularly as a man, and women as well. No one's coming to save you, and I think that's the most important thing. That same with you. You have to get out of this yourself, and the biggest thing is there'll always be a solution to the problem. In jiu-jitsu, more in grappling martial arts rather than striking, there'll always be a solution. A technique will be complete. This is actually a really good example. A technique won't work at all. Man, this is shit. This doesn't work at all. Roger's an exact example. He's very simple stuff, but he'll get some kind of tiny detail, nuance, put your hand here, and then it's perfect. That's the same with business. It's not working at all. We're not getting leads. The company's crumbling. And then there'll be someone who's had the experience before. Go and ask someone who's done it before, and they'll give you this one detail that completely changes everything.
Absolutely. But kind of moving to that like change of pace, just to wrap up, something I'm really excited about, I want to talk to you about, we've talked about it before, is the UFC this weekend.
Yeah, of course.
Right, so we've got Ilia Topuria versus Volkanovski main event, Paulo Costa and Robert Whittaker, and then we've got Henry Cejudo and Merab. You can pronounce his name, because I don't know how to pronounce it. Devashili or something like that.
I know the guy you mean, anyway.
That guy, the Merab guy. Who are you picking?
If someone put a gun to my head, because that's what it has to be, doesn't it? I'm not going to give you a nuance view. You want one view, right? So I'll say still Volkanovski.
Yeah.
But Volkanovski, I think in terms of track record, you have to pick Volkanovski. He's only lost to Islam. And the first fight was very close. In fact, anything, he probably could have won. Second fight, he wasn't ready for it, and you get knocked out. It's part of where it is, right? Yeah. Robert Whittaker, I think Robert Whittaker. I think Paulo Costa is incredible, but I think Robert Whittaker is very smart. He'll know how to change the pace. So his fight IQ is very high. I think he'll mix up takedowns with some jiu-jitsu as well. I think he's going to do that. And it has to be Henry Cejudo. People forget who he is because of the way he behaves, like jokes about. He's youngest ever Olympic gold medalist in wrestling. Yeah. An incredible martial artist. He's had decades of experience, right? So,
very, very humble about it as well. Right? He doesn't let you know that he's a martial artist.
Wears his gold medal. Wouldn't you? I'll be literally wearing it everywhere. It's like literally I'll be wearing all day, every day, wearing my gold medal. Restaurants, weddings, bar mitzvahs, funerals. I'll be everywhere.
That's it. Will this cover it?
Exactly.
Yeah. For me, actually, so the reason I mentioned that is I actually had the opportunity to go and train at Topuria's gym, which was a really, really cool experience. Unfortunately, he wasn't there. He was in Florida at the time preparing for, I think, the Bryce Mitchell fight. But, and obviously being half Spanish myself, I'm leaning that way, even though Volkanovski, like on paper, you think this guy, you know, he's in the GOAT. He's in the GOAT conversation, isn't he?
Every guy loses at some point, don't they?
Exactly. And Topuria's got some of the cleanest, but he's actually really, really well-rounded, but people just look at his boxing, how smooth it is. With Whittaker and Costa, I like him, but I really like Whittaker's style, but Costa's just a marauder. That's a coin toss for me.
Yeah, I don't think no one knows, right? No one knows.
And then so I'm picking Merab over Cejudo just because of what. Did you see what Cejudo did with his coach on Embedded? Do you watch UFC Embedded?
No, I don't know. I know what it is. Yeah. Sometimes I watch them.
They're going crazy for clickbait at the moment, and he actually fired his coach on an episode of Embedded. I was thinking, man, like that is just purely for.
Of course it is. He loves it.
You would not do that. You would not have that kind of tough conversation on camera. But unless there's an ulterior motive.
Yeah, I'm sure there's an ulterior motive. Always Cejudo, ulterior motive. Yeah.
But anyway, that's a big change of pace. You know, we've covered loads there, and there's probably more that we could
I think we
talk-
kept on
talk
topic,
about
which
for
is quite
hours.
good for us.
Yeah.
It's surprising hearing talk about nonsense.
Exactly. But absolute pleasure having you on, and also training with you, and being able to link up in Dubai, get the training in. Is there anything you want to mention, or where can people find you?
Yep. So my Instagram is James Cooper BTX.
No, awesome.
Thank you for having me on.
great
Appreciate
stuff.
it. Thank you.